Hi everybody, and welcome to Observing with Webb for August of 2015. August turns out to be, well, not so exciting in some ways, but very exciting in another way. Really, there's only one planet you can see easily and for the most part. And there's a Perseid meteor shower, which is pretty much the best meteor shower of the year, especially for us in the northern hemisphere. And we've got a new moon, so that's looking great. So what I wanted to do is just sort of talk about the planets that we can see throughout the night, then talk about the events, the meteor shower in particular, and then go on to some constellations. So let's just take a look. Let's look at Saturn because that's really the only one that you can see. Right now I have it in August 14th around 8 p.m., but let's fast forward a little bit as the sun sets. Now, as the sun sets, you start noticing Saturn in the south-southwest, way out there. And what's going to happen is, oh, by the way, I like using this star Antares, which is the brightest star in Scorpius. You can find that. It's nice and red, or it kind of twinkles sometimes because it's low in the horizon. That's a good one to use, and then go to the right and up a little bit to find Saturn up here. Also, you can sort of use this the head of the scorpion here, or the parts of the whatever these things are, the snappers. You can use that to kind of help you find Saturn as well. But the cool part about Saturn right now is the way that the rings are. You can see how they're just tilted toward us as opposed to edge on. So it's a really great time to look at it. But anyway, so what's going to happen throughout the night is so it's nighttime, you look toward the south-southwest. What's going to happen is Saturn is going to start moving toward the west and actually start setting, and it's probably out of view by about 11:30 or midnight, around that time. And that's really all the planets that you can see for the month. Now, we can just talk about them individually real quick. Mercury is just lost in the glare. You're not going to see that. Venus, well, okay. Let's talk about Venus and Mars. Technically, you can see them, but they're really hard to find. Let me go to sunrise and look in the east. And you can see that Mars, in the middle of the month, is technically there. Now, let me rewind the time a little bit. Okay, so before sunrise, about an hour before sunrise, it's just breaking above the horizon. I just find it hard to see that, so I wouldn't go looking for Mars this month, okay? But let's say we start heading later in the month. I'm going day by day by day. Oh, you start seeing by August 31st, Venus is coming in near Mars, and they're a little bit higher in the sky around sunrise. This gives you, let's see, 6:30 is sunrise. They technically are above the horizon at least by 5:30. Venus is a lot easier to see because it's much brighter. So you might be able to see them at the end of the month. I'm just not going to go out looking for just them unless I happen to be outside. So let's see, we talked about Mercury, Venus, Mars, not really worth seeing. Saturn, we talked about, is very much worth seeing. And then Jupiter. Jupiter, well, technically visible the first couple days of the month. In fact, let me go to the first, look toward the west, around sunset. And look, it's there, but it's still really bright at sunset. And up there, it's gone. Not really worth it. So anyway, reminder, Saturn is really what you want to look for. And if you have trouble finding Saturn, remember to look toward the south. Look for Antares. And if you look on the 22nd, the moon is going to be right next to Saturn right there, not far away. So that's the great time to actually take a look at it. Okay. So that's really the planets, just Saturn. So let's start at the beginning of the month and sort of follow the moon throughout the month. Okay. August 1st, the moon is actually coming just out of the full phase the day before in July 31st. So it's just past full on August 1st. Now let's go to like midnight. Notice it's high in the sky. Now over the next couple of days, the moon gets lower on the horizon, thinner, until August 6th, which is when you only see the left half of the moon lit up. Okay? Only the left half, and it only rises about midnight. So you can only see it from midnight, and you can see it into the morning, even in like 9 o'clock that time. Even though it's daytime, you can still see it. And then what's going to happen, let me zoom out a little bit, is every morning, if you take a look at the moon, it's going to get a little bit smaller and smaller. It's going to pass by the Pleiades, the Pleiades in Taurus. It's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then it's going to get so close to the sun, because the sun is rising, that on the 14th is the new moon. That's where they meet up. Here's the great part about that. The 12th to the 13th. Let's go back to the 12th, and let's go to sunset on the 12th. At sunset on the 12th, that's when, well, the meteor shower starts peaking. It's a great year for the Perseids, the Perseid meteor shower. That's because the moon is pretty much a new moon. And it looks like there can be 60 meteors an hour under dark skies. It's about 1 per minute. Now, they're not going to be evenly spaced. You might see a bunch in 1 minute and then wait 5 minutes and you won't see another one. But there's lots of tips to help you see them. Now, first of all, remember, you're seeing bits of dust left over from the comet Swift-Tuttle. They're burning up as they crash into the atmosphere. Crashing into the atmosphere at 37 miles per second. 37 miles every second. That's really fast, and it's crushing the air in front of it, compressing that air, heating it up, making the gas burn, making itself burn, and making this streak of light in the sky. And these things are only about the size of a grain of sand or a mote of dust, maybe a pea, something like that. But in order to see these, you have to find a dark location. That's your primary idea. You want to make sure there's really no street lights around, or at least none shining right on you. You want to find a place where there's plenty of sky to look at. You want to lean back. You want to lie down on something, probably, and just look at the whole sky. If you have to tilt in one direction, tilt toward the north, because the north is where the radiant is. Okay. Now, it's called the Perseid meteor shower because the radiant, or where the meteors appear to come from, is in Perseus. And you see, Perseus is in the northeast, and it rises throughout the night. And so what's going to happen is, in the beginning of the night, let me rewind, beginning of the night, you'll get some earth grazers. You won't see as many, but if you see them, they will probably be very bright. Whereas later on in the night, the radiant is very high, and so you see them coming this way, and that way, and that way, all away from Perseus. And so you'll see more of them, but they won't be quite as bright and brilliant. Let's see. Oh, also check the weather, because you don't want to go out and have nothing happen. Another idea is to adapt your eyes to the darkness. It can take... depends on your level of dark adaptation, but it could take 5 minutes to an hour to get a good dark adaptation for your eyes, so you can see more meteors. If you have to use a light, use a red light. You can paint some red nail polish on your flashlight, or buy a red one, or something like that. But the red ones are good because they don't mess up your dark adaptation. Anyway, if you're feeling extra nerdy, you can actually take a meteor count and submit it. Find your local astronomy club, see if they're holding a viewing party. I don't think AELC is, but I could be paying better attention. But I do know that there's one down in Wildwood where I'm going to be, and they're going to be having some sort of viewing party, which will be very neat to see. But yeah, so that's really how to find meteors. If you're into astrophotography, the best that I've been able to come up with is widest view possible, as open of an aperture as you can, so f2.5 if you can. Get your sensitivity, your ISO up as high as you can, and have them be like 10 to 30 second long shots, so that you have it open for the least amount of time, so that your meteor is as bright as it could be. I don't know that I've actually caught one yet, but you know, that's what all the professionals are saying, and it makes sense to me. But anyway, let's move on from the meteor shower. It's going to be great and awesome and wonderful, but let's move on from there. Now, let's say it's August 13th, you're waking up. Actually, no, let's say you're going to sleep on the 15th. 16th, and we're looking west, oops, and we see the moon starting to become a little crescent there. Okay, yeah, you see Mercury there, but it's going to be really hard to see. Now what's going to happen is every night, the moon's going to get thicker and thicker and higher in the sky until the first quarter moon on the 22nd of August. And that is also the same night that you have the moon and Saturn being very close together as well. And then, as is typical with every month, what happens is every night the moon gets thicker and thicker and thicker and brighter until the 29th, when you have a full moon. That's when you can see the moon for the entire night. And yeah, that's really all of the events that are going on. Just make sure you look at the Perseid meteor shower from the 12th to the 13th, into the 13th, and then on the 22nd, check out the moon being very close to Saturn. So yeah, let's move on to some constellations. Let's say you look straight up, and it's around, let's say, 8:30 p.m. Sunset. It's just getting dark. What you're going to be able to see if you look straight up is going to be Lyra, one of the bright summer constellations. Hercules, one of the spring constellations, and the head of Draco is up here as well. Hercules is pretty cool because you can look at the Hercules cluster. Oops, sorry. You can look at the Hercules cluster, which I've talked about in previous videos. Pretty neat to see. Now, if you're looking at the zenith, straight up above you, and actually let me go to the 15th, that would be better. And let's say it's closer to midnight, okay? Right around midnight, that's when you're going to see Cygnus and Aquila and Lyra and Delphinus. Those are the summer constellations. That's why it's summer. That's why we call them the summer constellations, because they're up at midnight in the summer. Then if you wait till the morning, you'll start to see Pegasus and Andromeda crawling by, and Perseus even. Those are the fall constellations. We'll be seeing them at midnight when we get into the fall. In fact, if you want to look, you might actually be able to find the Andromeda Galaxy. It won't look like that, but it'll be there. And I'll go into that in more detail at another time. Let me just talk about those summer constellations real quick. Let me go back to about midnight. And if we're looking around midnight, you see Cygnus over here, okay? And Cygnus is this big cross sort of constellation. This looks more like a cross, but here are the wings, and here's the head. Really, really neat to see. It's got the very bright star Deneb in it. And here's Lyra down here. Lyra is the harp, Cygnus the swan, Lyra the harp, and Aquila the eagle. These are very fun to find because, well, they're big, and in the beginning of the night, they're off in the like south-southeast. Around midnight, they're pretty much straight above you. And these three brightest stars, Deneb, Vega, and Altair, make the summer triangle, which is the an asterism, which is the three brightest stars in the summer sky. Easy to find. Anyway, I think that's really all I really want to go into this month. We're already at like 14 minutes. My apologies. But yeah, that's what's out there to see. Make sure you get out there for the meteor shower, and I'd love to see any pictures if you get them. And yeah, I'd like to wish you very clear, dark skies for the month of August.